Hey folks, welcome back to TacoBonsai. On this episode, I'm going to be repotting this, giving it a little bit extra of a shave down, and just working on some other trees, some of which you might see right over my shoulder and some that are off camera right now. So let's dive right in. This one is my dinner plate Balfour Aralia. And if you've been tuned in, you saw me cut this off before. Little leaf in here. Gonna see if I can pull that off. Yeah, close enough. I want to shave this down more so it fits better, and I want to repot this, partially because I knocked it off of this table, but also because my root base is not quite right. I want to straighten it out a little bit. So, start that off. I'm going to start to attack this while it's being held in place. It is quite a big knob, and it basically all has to come off up till here. This only cuts so much at a time, so I really got to shave down on it. Ooh. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get any kind of ratcheting yet. There's that. Ooh. It's quite sharp, and this is quite a thick piece of wood. Ooh. Oh, probably something I could have done off camera. Yeah, I want to get it closer to where it's supposed to be. So that's probably even too far up, but I've really just got to go a little bit at a time. Not quite. Very daunting, you know. I actually just start back here. Right. So I can start my cut all the way back here. You can even see that. There we go. Try to get this fixed up. It is a quite large piece of wood. Back at it on this side. It's a really, really big piece of wood. Oh my gosh. Of course, I was the one who wanted to have such a big tree, so it's on me, but still a lot of work. Ooh. I definitely recommend getting a pair of ratcheting pruners. I don't think these work nearly as well as the ironwood tools, but they work for how much they need to. All right, now I'm gonna pull this out and see if I can't just. Oh, lots of good roots. I like that part. Ooh. So this pot's broken. That's part of the reason too. But I'm not upset about those roots. Yeah. That's a pretty sweet deal right there. Okay, now let's see if I can come around the bottom here. Do some more. I'm going to put this over in my... I'll put it over here. Let's see if I can do a little cutting on the bottom. Well, that's not pretty good. Let's see if I can just, ooh, there we go. All right, very, very big piece of dinner plate Aralia there. Now I've got to carve this down. Now I didn't have any dye back on this really. It was a little, to the next ring, but didn't really dye back. So let's first, ooh. If I can't just do a little more shaping on this. All right, I think that's about It's good I'm going to get that with this particular tool. So now I'm going to come back in. Yeah, I need to get some good nibblers and try to work on a little bit with this. Really making it a clean cut. Cleaner, I should say. These are very effective tools, even when they're not very sharp. Yeah, I'd had a different plan for this one. And then it came down to it that I looked at it and I said, you know what, I've got to cut it all off. And that was not the most popular video, but for me, it's a very important one because that was a decision I made. And I wasn't really sure about. Such a big piece of wood. It's absurd. I watch a lot of videos and I see people cutting and it ends up like flat, but it ends up looking wide on this side. I don't know if that's the best, the worst, but it's what I'm gonna do here because I see those people having really good healing properties on those trees. And it kind of seems to close up in the correct way. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so it's, you know, maybe a big wound if you look at it from here, and it's still a big wound, but that way when you look at it from a sort of front view, it's not so bad. I'm not sure if these heal well or not, but this one's going to try. George is going to try. All right. It's almost as good as I think I'm going to be able to get it. I do this little branch here that's kind of dead. I don't want to go past that. I think that's kind of my last point, but a lot more shapely of a tree now. Now this does have pests on it. I have to keep spraying it, but very, very pretty foliage if you ask me, and they're not tiny. I've seen much bigger too. So first things first, I'm gonna get these things out of here. I'm gonna work on clearing the rest of these roots of the big chunks of soil. So it's really encouraging to see something like this with so many good roots. I had pied this up, I can't remember when, and I just wasn't sure how it would do. But looking now, very pleased. I mean, that's a lot of really good roots. A lot of them are right where I want them to. So I'm not going to be potting this into a terribly shallow container. I'm potting it up into a circular container like that. So I've got to pick where my roots are going to be. I understand I'm still doing a terrible job of light, but I think you can see there is the main root base, and I kind of had it at tilt because it gets wider as it goes farther down. And I like that. Some of these roots just won't do. Like this one here is kind of sticking up and out. I don't want that. So it's going to go, some of these are going too far down. Some of them are really long. Like this is a nice long thick root. I don't want that at all. So I'll take it off. Roots again are like branches. You want to make sure you know where they're coming from and where they're going. I've got a lot of branches or roots, sorry. Got aerial roots that are sticking like this. If I can untangle them, I can use them really nicely. Like this one, really nice. I can tuck it out, just have it sit against the base like that, and then I'll get a little more out of it. Now I've got all this going on over here. I've got roots that are going in every direction. I don't need them all. Start here. This one kind of started to turn. One that's looping over that. Now if I can untangle it, or oh, it just pulls right off. That's fine. I've got one coming underneath here, and I don't think I want that either. But if I'm going to lift this up, it might be better than this one. So that one's going to come right off. Now you can see I've just got this one comes down like that. Now it does kind of loop around, which I don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and terminate it pretty close in. Unfortunately, that's a lot of good roots that came off of there. Got these coming from the bottom here. I'm going to take them all off. There's one right there, big old root. One here. One from the bottom again. This one's coming from the bottom up, which I do not want. Some more under here coming from the bottom. Again, I'm just clipping the big ones. I'm not concerned with small ones, just big ones. Another one here, big, come from the bottom. That off. This one's coming all the way from underneath. Don't know where it's coming from, but I'm at least going to take off the portion I can see. It's a good one here. Another big one here. I can't tell if it's already been snipped. We're good. Little one here, but I'm going to make it shorter. I don't want it that big. You can see it's starting to get a little bit shallower on that side. Not this side per se, but a little shallower. Right? This one's swooping under, so I'm going to take that out. Really big one here that's coming all the way under again. We got some really big ones here, and they're swooping under, so I don't want that. Otherwise, over here, they're really nice. This one starts to turn up. Don't want that. Take that one off there. One underneath here, that needs to come off. This one's coming out from underneath, but it's technically a top root, so I'm going to leave it there. And let's see here. Got ones like this that curve underneath. I don't want that curving underneath like that. Some of these can be untangled, but not all of them. I've got one all the way back in here. It's not going to untangle this one either. Just kind of going underneath. So now I'm starting to get down to the, not nitty gritty, but the very bottom here. Off some of these big ones. Some of them are coming out from the bottom and just going off into no man's land. I like this big root here, but it starts to turn up. So what I'll do is I'll come underneath and give it a little snip. And already we're starting to look a lot more ready for a new pot. Here. And I don't mind if roots kind of go whichever direction. It doesn't bother me. But I know that on the bottom here, I want to have only small roots, no big roots. And that makes a big difference. I could carve down a little bit underneath here, but honestly, if I have it like that sticking out, I'm going to be very, very happy with it. So I'm going to plant it about the same way I did before, not terribly high. Hopefully, it'll do really, really, really well. I've kind of started to change the way the root base sits. So now if I'm to put this on here, it may not support itself, but I think that's a nice looking root base. I don't yet have to pick the front of the tree, but at least I have a little bit more of an idea of what it'll look like under there. And again, I don't want to take vigor out of the tree. It's hard to see, but even if I were to, an ant crawling around, I've got a couple ants crawling around. When there's pests, there's ants too. I want to balance out this root system, but the easiest way to do that is to not kill the tree. So this one that was tucked under, be tucked out in this direction, this one too. I also have to sort these out when I'm doing the repotting. Ooh. Lay that down. I'm going to use solely recycled soil. And the reason why is that I have a lot of it that I just baked from the last repotting. So put a lot in here as a big, big base layer. It has a lot of organic in it, but I don't think that's a bad thing. This particular tree seems to do really, really well, regardless of what I put it in. I don't know why my little variegated one didn't make it, but I'm hoping not to have the same fate for this one. So just scoop, scoop, scoop. There we go. And again, I will bake the soil from this one and reuse it. But in the meantime, cleaning mealies off and all that. All right. So hopefully, we're in a good spot where you can see here. I'm going to scoot things in and tilt you down a little bit. All right. So I'm laid out like this. Again, it doesn't matter much which way I angle it, but I do want to make sure that I put all my roots to the outside as radial fashion as I can. Bigger roots have been terminated. We're in pretty good shape. Since it is a circular pot, I can leave it just like that. Now I'm going to do a little mounding right in the center there, just to get myself up. There we go. Again, just pull everything out to as close to radial as I can get it. Some of this is a little funny, but that is okay. And again, I'm not trying to take vigor out of the tree. I'm just trying to get it into a different home. All right. And I'm going to scoop a whole bunch of soil in here, get this thing covered up. This one I'm going to fill to where you would expect me to. About 3/8 of an inch below the top. Because this one is a little more developed. I want to cover up these roots to keep them safe. Now, this isn't my typical tree, unless you mean that it's got really big leaves and it's probably a bad bonsai species, but I don't typically go for things like this. This is a relative of the Ming Aralia. But Aralias in general just aren't really my bag. All right, so I learned from Nigel Saunders to do a little lift. Once you got a little lift in there, and already it's kind of solid, and then start just pushing all that soil in. As Tom would say, fire it in there. Just fire it in. Get all those air pockets out. Fire it in. This is a rather large base. So I'm really hoping to get it filled in really, really nice. It's very important as well to put lots and lots of soil underneath and mound it up kind of in the shape of whatever's underneath, and you get a better result when you're doing the actual fill-in. Put a little bit more on here. Fill in like in the back here. You guys can't see, but then on the side here, you guys probably can see. It's a little bit on the low side. Now it looks extremely full, but as you can see when I press down in it, it starts to not work its way down. Now the only aerial root that's really visible is this one. That's fine. The rest of this, I'm very excited. I think it's looking good. Got some good healthy roots in there. Took off a lot of healthy roots. But I would say, in most cases, that is a good to go tree. I'll seal this up. I think I use wood glue right now, but whatever I've got to seal it, I want to seal this up so I don't have too much sap leakage. It is a tropical tree, so of course it continues to grow year round. So I've got to seal that up with some glue of some sort, and then this one will continue to grow. I should be doing some pruning topside. I'll do that now. Angle this up. Now you have to look at me a little bit. Ooh. No. All right. So, much in the same way that a lot of folks do, it's tall. These are nice, but one of them is going to come down lower. And I don't think I want that at all. I'm going to go ahead and just take it off. See, that was coming from too far down. Oop, too far down to be that way. My leader is really up here. Over on this side, these are all kind of back branches. This being my lowest one, it's not doing great. Kind of got knocked off there. This one's good. It's not on the inside of a curve or anything, but this one is kind of not useful. It is weak right now, but I'll take that off. So now I'm down to just 2 branches. This back branch here I want to grow out, so I'm going to take it to this leaf here. It's going to take it back that way. This one up top, being my leader. It does bifurcate right here. I don't know if you can see that, but bifurcates right there. And then I've got to decide which part of it I want to be my leader. And I think I want this, the smaller part, to be my leader. So I'll take this bigger part and just take it back to about the same. Now I did take all of the leaves off of this other one. But two things happen when I take off all this. The first being it makes it much easier to check for pests and to maintain them. Also, this will back bud very easily. It loves to back bud. It doesn't mind being defoliated, in my experience. The other one was so small and weak, but this one's incredibly strong. So now you're looking at that right there would be my front. And I think that's kind of a nice front. Is it perfect? No, but I don't mind it at all. I'd rather have a front that's not perfect that I can work on. But really pleased with how healthy the roots were in this thing. That's big excitement. So I'm taking care of a little mealy issue here. They do like to just embed themselves in these trees. So this one's all done. I'll get it watered up in a little bit here. I'm not going to do it on camera just because it's very messy to do in this bin, even if it's easy. That one's all done. So I'm going to swap it out for just a little show and tell. One of the nice things about any grocery store is all the discount stuff. Now, this isn't the healthiest looking plant. In fact, I'm going to take off all my buds down to a leaf, at least, to help this thing not lose that energy. This is a mini rose that was for $1. Now, if it's $1, as far as I'm concerned, that's virtually free. Got a lot of dead stuff in here, which is fine. It's to be expected. But honestly, any rose is a very good candidate. Even if they're like this one, they're not in the best of shape, they're the discount. It's fine by me. I'll see if it'll grow. If one of these survives and it makes a good tree one day, I'll be very, very happy. But yeah, just picking out all this stuff. I'm not sure if this is an indoor or outdoor. I'll have to do some research on this. Of course, it just says mini rose. It doesn't tell me anything other than that. It does have a QR code I can scan that says full sun, keep moist, suitable for indoor and outdoor. So I'm assuming this tree needs a little bit of overwintering. It didn't get it. Is part of the reason why it's not doing so hot now. Some trees do need to take that time to recover energy. All right. Ooh, coming out. Yeah. So here I've got the stalk that came up here. It's just from a flower. I'm just going to take that right off. Not worth chasing down something that's not doing so great. And most of it's not doing good. But like this one here looks really, really strong, really healthy. Let me see how it does. If it dies, I'm out $1. You know, pretty much the same quantity for a lot of people. You know, it's like being out 75, no, €0.75 of a euro. I don't know. It's like being out €1. It's not even a significant thing. It's a very small amount of money to be out if something dies like this. See, except for this one, all these leaves kind of pick off because they're not in great shape, or the branch itself falls off. That's okay. It gives me a lot of light and an opportunity in the future to do more with it. There are some new growth spots, even though it's all coming off. Yeah. Even though it's all kind of fallen off, that new growth will take over, and this might be a very healthy tree someday. That's my new mini roses. They're not in the best soil, but you know what? I think roses will be okay no matter what I kind of do with them. Now the last one, I want to demonstrate a little bit of selective pruning on this one, even though I'm not doing a whole lot of pruning. So this one is my collected wild olive. Now it's got a super low branch that probably isn't ideal, but I like the way it's coming out, so I'm gonna leave it. So what you can see if I turn this is that that low branch isn't going in a bad direction, but I do have like here and here, especially here. Let's see if I can scoot in. These are very vertical shoots. Same thing with this one here. So what I'll do is I won't take them completely off. But especially on this one here, on the outside, there's a leaf, tiny little leaf that's going out. And it's slightly obscured by this, but right there, you can barely see the tip of my. So I'm going to take this back, not to that one, but the one above that that's coming out this way, and see if it gives me something coming out here. Now this one, I don't want it all, I don't think. I like that it bifurcated, but it's not a very good one, so I'll take it right back. Technically hard pruning that one and see if I get something coming a different direction. Up front here, this one's starting to get vertical, so it's already been cut in the past, and I'm getting buds. That's good. And this one here that's super vertical may be the only living part of that plant, but I don't want that coming up. So now, if I turn that for you to see better, you kind of see it's much more flattened out. Now from the side, it's got some character to it, but it's much more flattened out. And I do have buds up here, I just realized, so that's really good. But I'm going to take the top off of that to help that bud down below here. And this here is dead, so it's going to come off. So now I've got a much more flat branch down there. That's a great example of how you would selectively prune. Now that branch will probably end up being sacrificial. It's not going to be part of the final design. But up top here, ooh, we have a similar sort of thing going on. I've been working on just growing out. So on that, I've got this one here. It's coming from over here, and it's not really doing what I want it to do. I don't want it to really sweep up, but as it is now, it's not a big issue. But I have a desire to cut this top off here because that top one's coming too far in. So just the tip, just to get it to send some more vigor back, maybe back bud some. This does back bud very easily, so I'm not concerned with the back budding a lot. And you know what? You guys are looking at the same thing I am here. I'm not going to move the screen, but this right here is just sticking straight up. So it has to come off. Much better. Now, from where you're looking, much flatter branch. A very good looking branch too, in my opinion. Up here, I don't want to lose all of my bifurcation. So I've got this one, great. This one right behind it just started, also bifurcating. Got a little dead bit here. Now this one, I've got a piece coming straight up I don't want, so I'm going to take that off. I've got buds coming every which way there, and I've got a bud on top here. I'm going to go ahead and just use my nail and scrape that off. Down below, this branch is headed in a very good direction, and I might like to get it kind of, almost weeping. So I'm going to leave it alone because it has a really good shape to it. I'm going to try to take off just the dead stuff at the tip. Yeah. That's a little better. Over here, this branch is my leader. It is supposed to come up, and it's doing it very well. A little bit of a dead spot here I can take off. So sharpen my tools, right? But really, it just bifurcates in this one spot, and then it comes up again. On this branch, I have more to work with. Yeah, I have more to work with. So easier seen from this side here, comes up at the very base. This makes it so I have three come from the same spot. I don't want that. So again, every time you're selectively pruning, you want to take off anything that changes it from a 1 to 2 into a 1 to 3. You pick the best branch. I picked to get rid of that one because, of course, this lower here is a much better transition. That off as well. Don't want that growing in that little inside there. And this is just a little bud that I'm scraping off. All right. Coming up, I've got one here that comes out this way. That's good. It's not going towards any other branches, and it gives me bifurcation relatively close in there. It may end up being eliminated later when I'm developing the structure larger, but for now, I'm going to leave it just to keep everything moving, and I might need to replace a branch. Coming up that even further, I've got one right here. It's coming towards you, the viewer, as you see it now, but that's not how the front will be. The front will likely be somewhere around here. So now, this is the one I said is good. This one's no longer coming towards the viewer. this one is. I'd like to get it coming down and out, which we can do. This one that was coming towards the viewer is now coming back and in towards the front of the center of the tree. That's good. It'll probably end up being my new leader because this one is headed towards this other branch, and I don't necessarily know that I want that. So what I'll do is I'll take, there's the dead part up here and this one here. I'm gonna take that all off. And now, although this is lower than this branch here, I do want to keep some green on the tips. And this one's, you know, pretty much ready. It's not drastically different from how it was before, but it is my experience that making little selections like that before it buds out completely help you to get a cleaner end result. This is a tree that was collected, so some of these bits just, you know, may not make it, but to make sure I'm paying attention to my structure up here will make a big difference for me. I do have another bud down here that I need to get rid of, and I'm just going to use my finger. Oh, that was just a piece that had fallen off. So now I've got that a little bit closer to where it's supposed to be. And I may adjust the front, but I think that this is right where I want it to be. That being the front, this is sort of a back lower branch. And again, it might just be removed altogether and the rest is developed. This is the new leader, and this is a upward sweeping branch. This is more of the lowest branch. We'll have to see. But those are the things I look for when I'm pruning is 1 and 2, of course. And whenever possible, I like this type of angle. I don't know what the exact degrees are, but when you have an angle like this for bifurcation, it's really, really sweet. It looks very natural. Down here on that lowest branch, you can see it's not a wide angle here, but here it's almost a wide angle, even though this is dyed back. So I'm going to just take that dead part off. And although I'm leaving this one here, it may be that that buds out this way, and I've got a really good result there. We'll just have to see. It looks bad now, but you have to trust in the process. Sometimes you get something you don't expect. So there is beginnings of this olive. It looks very different from every angle. So of course my front could change, but I'm very pleased with how it's doing. So I'll put that back where it's supposed to be. And again, that's waking up early. That's intentional because I want to keep things from freezing too much. I have a very cold environment right now that I'm not used to. And so instead of letting things die, I'm kind of pushing them ahead. They'll have to survive the summer very, very well, but I think we'll get it. That's it. After big chops like this one, and I mean, that's no small feat. There's no, that was a big, it is still a big tree, but that was a big tree to cut that part off of. And we can see just from here how far that living tissue still goes. That living tissue still goes all the way to the edge there. Virtually no dieback. So that's really good. If I really chunk away at this thing, it's got a solid core on it. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. Appreciate you all. Take care of yourselves. See you on the next one. Cheers.